Welcome to the website of GasCloud LMS. GasCloud LMS is a state-of-the-art system used by schools, colleges, and universities here in the Philippines. Now, like any LMS, students will have their own username and password. Teachers will also have their own username and password. And then the school will have accounts for system administration. So let's log in using a student account. Normally, we use the student ID number for the username, and for the password, we recommend last name plus, let's say, the last 3 or 4 digits of the ID number. So let's click sign in so that we can enter as a student inside the LMS. So upon entering the LMS, what we can see here is actually the dashboard. The dashboard basically tells the student as well as the parent regarding the status of the different activities inside the LMS of the student. So using the dashboard, we actually keep track the learning hours of the student. What do I mean by that? I mean, it is important, of course, that we are able to keep track if the student is using the LMS based on the requirement of the school or of the teacher. And that information is actually being forwarded to the parent so that parents are aware kung nag-aaral po yung kanilang anak on a daily basis based on the schedule you provided to them. Meanwhile, on the right side corner of the screen, these are the content or the courses created by the teacher wherein students are enrolled so that they can access asynchronous and synchronous activities. So we are reporting the percentage of completion so that students are aware also kung meron silang kailangan tapusin or kung natapos na nila yung mga activities in that particular course. Meanwhile, sa baba are more details about lessons completed, assignments or tasks completed. So in our LMS, we allow the teacher to create tasks wherein students are allowed to upload files depende sa requirement ng teacher. So I'll explain more about that later. And then tracking of the quizzes and tests completed. So finished, ibig sabihin, this is the number of quizzes and tests that the student took so far. Pending, that means the student is already allowed to take these quizzes but hindi pa niya tinitake. So dapat pag may pending, student should already find out kung ano yung pending quizzes na yun para matake na. And missed, ibig sabihin, the student missed or were not able to take the test based on the allotted period or time of the teacher. So let's say si teacher nag-set ng quiz on June 15, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. and the student were not able to take that, automatically nare-record siya as missed para alam ng student na meron siyang nakaligtaan na quiz or test. And locked, ibig pong sabihin is that the student is not allowed to open the quiz because hindi pa pinapayagan ng teacher. So from the dashboard, let's go to the left navigation panel and let's click courses. So under courses, this is where the students will be able to access content created by the teacher. Ang isang box represent actually a course. Ang course po refers to a particular class or subject for that particular level per quarter. So ang design po natin ng ating mga courses is normally one course per subject per quarter. And then ang teacher, pwede na siyang mag-enroll or pwede na siyang mag-assign ng students kung sino yung mga students na dapat mag-aral or dapat may access sa kanyang course. So of course, ang teacher po ang naglalagay ng course image, course title, and then the short description. As well as we always require the teacher to put the start date and the end date, so that alam ng students kung kailan dapat nila pwedeng simulan at until when they should be able to finish the activities inside the course. So nakalagay din yung progress, same progress na nakikita sa dashboard to indicate kung mayroong hindi pa natatapos na activities yung student inside that particular course. So let's open a course. Okay. So here are more details about the course, of course, kung sino po yung teacher na nag-create, So nakalagay, and then teachers can also update their profile, put their pictures, those type of things. Under overview is normally where the course objective is outlined. And then under activities are the different activities created by the teacher. So ito po, babalikan natin later. And then under announcement, actually are the list or the reminders or the announcement that the teachers can post online if the teacher have instructions, if the teacher actually have reminders on that particular subject or that course. No? And ang notes naman is for online notes for that student, no? So that they can take down note online kung gusto nilang gumamit ng online notepad. So let's go back to the activities because this is where the students will be able to access the different activities created by the teacher. One thing that we incorporated in our LMS is that we want the teacher to be able to impose structure and discipline in allowing the student to access the content. No? So hindi dapat siya parang website na kung ano lang yung gustong pag-aralan ng student, yun lang yung kanyang i-open. No? So sa atin pong LMS, the teacher can set what we call prerequisites, no, or dependency, wherein a student will not be able to access the activity if meron siyang requirement na kailangan gawin for the student to be able to unlock that activity. So normally, like for example, sa quiz, before a student can take a quiz, pwedeng iset ni teacher na dapat napag-aralan niya muna yung prerequisite or yung kanyang asynchronous lesson. No? Bago siya mag-submit ng kanyang assignment, dapat natutunan niya muna yung concept kung ano yung gagawin niya doon sa assignment or sa kanyang performance task. No? And at the same time, if the teacher does not allow yet the student to open the activity kasi nakaschedule siya on, let's say, on a per week basis, then kung hindi pa dumarating yung date allotted or set by the teacher, then that particular student will not be able to open also that particular activity. So in order for us to show to you each type of activities, let's actually start with the virtual class. So inside our LMS, we actually integrated the use of different video conferencing applications. No? Yung ating virtual classes is a unique requirement during this pandemic kasi bago yung pandemic, wala naman talagang ganitong component ang mga LMS. No? But due to the absence of the face-to-face classes, ang classes natin is being conducted through different applications like Zoom, Google Meet, no? So what we actually did in our LMS is that we integrated 4 video conferencing applications, no? So available ang Zoom kung gustong gamitin ng teacher ang Zoom, available din ang Google Meet, ang MS Teams and ang Jitsi Meet, no? Ang kagandahan din ng ating LMS is that pag gumagamit kasi na tayo ng mga ganitong application for virtual class, normally without integration, kailangan pa ni teacher i-share yung link, no? Kagaya ng meeting po natin ngayon, we had to share the link para ma-access ng participants or ng students yung inyong online class. But using the LMS, all the student have to do is to click join button. Pag open na yung particular virtual class, based on the date and the time set by the teachers. Ang atin pong virtual class, isa ring ang advantage is automatically ang attendance is checked na rin by the system. No? So lahat ng nag-join dun sa virtual class, they are automatically marked as present. Meanwhile, let's proceed to the next activity. No? So let's open the next activity, which is the lesson for reading comprehension. No? So using our LMS, teachers can actually incorporate content in different ways. No? Content can be in text format, pwedeng in image format, pwede rin mag-integrate na mga learning resources like videos inside the lesson. So this is an example of the video integrated inside the lesson.
Gigabox!
This is the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a village near a big forest.
Now, one thing that we also integrated is that the use of what we call the text-to-speech technology. No? So, ang text-to-speech naman, if you're familiar with that, sa mga smartphones wherein instead of the student plainly reading the content, pwede actually niyang gamitin yung text-to-speech so that student can actually hear at the same time while they read the content. No? So text-to-speech can be enabled by the teacher or pwede rin siyang i-enable ng student. Reading speed can be adjusted, and all the student have to do is to click at the beginning of the paragraph for the text-to-speech to activate.
Once there was a little girl with a cloak that had a red velvet hood. She was known as Little Red Riding Hood. One day her mother said, "Your granny is sick. Please take her some cakes, they will do her good. Remember to stay on the path, and do not stop along the way."
So that feature is actually optional, no? Pwedeng i-enable, pwedeng i-disable. Of course, for content like Araling Panlipunan or Filipino, we highly recommend na wag i-enable. Otherwise, you will have a foreign speaker reading a Tagalog or a Filipino content. So it's not going to be nice. These are additional tools we incorporated in the LMS to actually help the student absorb the material. So of course, the normal process of learning is kailangan intindihin ng student yung content. When the student is ready and done, the student can actually press the continue button. So upon pressing the continue button, we have an option for the teacher to integrate what we call the competency check. No? So this is configurable. Pwedeng i-disable, pwedeng i-enable ni teacher. Ang teacher, of course, ang naglalagay ng questions. And siya rin yung nagsaset up ng mga sagot. No? So ang main purpose nito is to make sure that the students learn the material before you allow the student to proceed to the next activity. So na kay teacher ang prerogative kung ilang questions ang nilalagay. By the way, competency check is a type of formative assessment. No? So in this case, we got 2 out of 3 and the system does not allow us to proceed to the next activity. Now, please take note na si teacher, pwede niyang i-require na kailangan natin sagutan yung mga questions correctly. No? At kung hindi natin nasagutan ng tama based on the requirement ni teacher, the system may require you to go back to the previous activity para pag-aralan yung content. This is actually to ensure that you paid attention and you understood the content bago kayo makaproceed dun sa next activity. So, nasa control yun ni teacher kung ilang questions yung kailangan ninyong sagutan ng tama in order for you to be able to proceed to the next activity. Okay? So, etong part na to, hindi to graded exam or hindi to graded tests. No? Pero, this is to make sure na bago tayo makapag-proceed, kailangan nasagutan yung questions correctly. And once you're able to do that, then you can proceed to the next activity. Okay? So, teachers may also incorporate learning resources that we are allowed to download. No? So this type of content is also available depending on what the teacher is going to incorporate inside the LMS. Pwede natin i-maximize, no, para pwede natin basahin online or pwede natin i-download para lalo na kung gumagamit tayo ng mobile data para makatipid sa ating load or sa ating connection. Okay? Pwede po nila itong i-download. No? Pag din-download nila, mada-download sa kanilang device and then the student can learn this offline. No? Pag tapos na yung student, basahin yung content, pwede siyang bumalik online and pwede niyang ituloy yung kanyang activity wherein that student still needs to answer the competency questions kung nag-set po si teacher bago siya makapag-proceed sa next activity. No? So these are methodologies that you can actually implement, especially to your school. So malaking tulong yung pagpo-provide ng asynchronous activities, but at the same time, the teacher is able to guide the students kung anong kailangan niyang pag-aralan on a day-to-day basis. So pag nag-continue po tayo, then we should be able to proceed to the next activity, which is the quiz. Okay? So moving on, aside from the lesson or the asynchronous lesson, teachers can also administer online quizzes and tests. No? Ito po is actually an important component of an online distance learning. No? So in our LMS, teachers can administer online test, no? Si teacher po ang nag-upload ng questions. Teachers will have access to their individual test bank, and all the student have to do kung available na yung quiz is click the start button. So when taking computer-based test, we try to simulate the process of taking a real computer-based test. No? So in-apply po natin yung mechanics ng pagtitake actually ng computer-based test dito. As we all know, at some point, even our licensure examination will be computer-based na po. No? As early as last year, ang PRC actually is already working out kung paano mag-administer ng licensure exam using computer-based examination. No? So maganda rin tong training para sa mga students because as early as now, iba kasi yung test-taking skills when taking computer-based test compared sa paper-based. No? So here, all the student have to do is to answer the question before they can proceed to the next question. No? So dito po, pag nasagutan na ng student yung question, hindi na sila pwedeng bumalik dun sa previous question. Hindi rin nila pwedeng skip yung question and then balikan na lang later on. No? Yung isa yun sa mga normally difficulties sa computer-based test pag hindi sanay ang student, because our students are trained to skip hard questions and then go back later on kung sakaling tapos na sila dun sa mga easy questions. No? But pag computer-based test, ang normal computer-based test po, dapat sagutan nila yung question before they can proceed to the next question, and they are no longer allowed to go back to the previous question. As you can see also, ang ating computer-based test is a timed test because we are very particular when it comes to academic integrity. No? So we try to maintain academic integrity and we try to discourage students from doing things other than answering the questions properly. No? So sa atin pong test, ang questions are being fed in random order. Ang choices are also in random order. No? So sa bawat student, iba yung pagkakasunod-sunod ng questions, iba rin yung pagkakasunod-sunod ng choices. Those are the default configuration of the system and it can be disabled by the teacher kung meron siyang exception na gagawin sa kanyang test. Normally kasi pag mga lower grade levels, particularly kinder or grade 1 wherein teacher assisted yung pagtitake ng test, gusto ng teacher na sisimulate na sabay-sabay nilang sinasagutan yung mga questions based dun sa pagkaka-arrange ng teacher. No? So configurable naman yung settings natin sa ating LMS. Furthermore, ang isa pong pinaka-challenge ngayon is pag nagte-test ang student, magbubukas ng new tab, bubuksan yung Google, hahanapin yung sagot doon sa test, no? Online. Kung mahahanap nila, babalik sila doon sa test and then sa kanila sasagutan yung question. So in our LMS, we also incorporated test security. The test security will require the student to stay on the page. No? Otherwise, every time na nag-open siya ng ibang applications, new tabs, Facebook Messenger, Viber, or even kung pumunta siya sa desktop, automatically nadidetect ng LMS and the LMS will give warning to the student. The LMS will provide 3 warnings and after 3 warnings, if the behavior is still the same, automatically the student will have violation. No? Pag nagka-violation yung student, kung ano lang yung nasagutan niya na questions, yun lang yung i-correct ng system. And in the account of the teacher, makikita ng teacher na this particular student committed a violation. No? So ibig sabihin nun, may iba siyang binubuksan na applications habang nagte-test or habang nagte-take online. Furthermore, in our LMS, we also maintain different question types. No? So yung kanina is multiple choice. This is an example of matching type or drag and drop. No? So wherein you can actually use this, very useful for grade school kasi you can use this for teaching concepts, picture to picture, text to picture, things like that. No? So ang kailangan lang gawin ng student ay i-drag yung sagot from the answer bank to column B. No? So madali lang gamitin, very user-friendly. So let's say nagkamali yung student, all the student have to do is to return the answer and pwede niyang i-correct yung kanyang sagot. Once tapos na yung student, all the student have to do is to press the continue button. And at the end of the test, student will immediately get the score. No? So graded na yung ating test automatically out of the 6 question types. So yung kaninang pinakita natin na multiple choice and drag and drop or fill in, matching type. We also support fill in the blanks, enumeration, and sequencing. No? Yung 5 question types na yun, automatically kino-correct na ng system yung answer ng student. Meanwhile, we also support essay, but if the teacher will incorporate essay in their graded examination, ang teacher po ang nag-grade or ang naglalagay ng rating para dun sa score ng student sa essay. No? Now, here in our LMS, of course, the student knows the score. Teachers can actually pull out the score immediately using your gradebook. No? So, nandun lahat yung listahan ng students and yung individual scores nila and kung ano yung status, whether done or nagkaroon ba ng violation. On the other hand, teachers can also access report in their gradebook like item analysis, no? So that you can see kung ilang students yung nakasagot ng tama, ilang students yung nakasagot ng mali, those type of things, as well as parents are automatically informed because using the mobile app, the LMS will inform the mobile app that the student took a test. So right immediately, nano-notify po ang parent pag nagtitake ang student at nagkaroon siya ng graded score sa LMS. So kahit ang parent nasa work, nasa bahay, nasa ibang bansa, nalalaman po ng parent na nagtake yung anak niya o yung kanyang student sa LMS kasi nagkakaroon po siya ng notification through the mobile app. Using our LMS, we also took into consideration the normal problems that an LMS would encounter, particularly here in the Philippines. No? Kung unstable kasi yung internet connection, normally yun yung nakakaapekto sa pagtitake ng test. Using our LMS, minimal po yung nagiging disruption on the part of the student kasi while taking the test, minimal ang connectivity na ginagamit ng LMS. And the system allows the student to resume if nagkaroon po ng interruption yung student in the process of taking the test. So let's say bumagal yung internet or nawala ng internet. Worst case scenario is na-reset or nagkaroon ng power interruption. For as long as the student can log in again in the LMS, the system will allow the student to continue kung saan man po siya nagkaroon ng interruption. No? So that's the process of taking an online test using Gas Cloud LMS. So moving on, aside from the computer-based tests, the final type of activity actually are the task or the assignments created by the teacher. So this is useful during performance task or even task assigned by the teacher if you are using textbook or printed materials. No? Because normally if the students are using textbook, then they can read or they can learn content out of the textbook. Teacher can conduct a follow-up through synchronous activity. They can conduct class. No? And if the student needs to answer certain pages or worksheets or workbook, no, all they have to do is to upload the file. They can take a picture of the page, upload here using this type of activity because we allow submission using different file formats. So pwede po silang mag-upload ng image, pwede pong mag-upload ng documents, Excel file, PowerPoint, and most especially sa mga performance task, audio or video, pwede pong mag-upload ang student dito sa ating LMS para po hindi nahihirapan yung teacher hanapin yung submission ng student. No? Without the LMS kasi ang nangyayari in some of the schools, ang submission is through Facebook Messenger or minsan pinapadala sa email or minsan ina-upload ng student sa Google Drive. No? So kung marami pong hinahandle na student ang teacher and then kung marami po siyang activities, it's actually an added burden yung hahanapin pa ng teacher yung submission ng student. So dito po, naka-consolidate na yung submission per activity per section kung sino man yung mga naka-assign for that section or class. So ang teacher, Ang kailangan nila lang gawin is tingnan yung submission ng student. And one thing that ang advantage din ng LMS po natin is hindi na kailangan i-download ng teacher yung submission ng student. They can actually view it online. Like yung mga videos, kung meron po tayong mga performance task at kailangan mag-shoot ng student ng video to be able to show yung kanilang performance, pwede nilang panoorin ng teacher yung content or yung submitted file online. On the other hand, if you have requirements wherein the teachers needs to return a file to the student, pwede rin pong mag-send yung teacher ng file sa student, vice versa. So dito po nakikita ng teacher at ng student yung exchange nila ng files kung meron pong pinadala rin na file ang teacher sa student. Meanwhile, sa atin pong assignment or task, pwede pong mag-attach din ng teacher ng file dito para makita or ma-download ng student yung file online. And then pag may grade na po, dito na lumalabas yung grade, napapalitan na yung deadline of submission. So basically, yun po yung process on how the students will be able to access content created by the teacher inside the LMS. As you can see, to indicate that an activity has been completed, so naka-colored na po yung kanilang icon. Meanwhile, yung hindi pa tapos, yun yung mga naka-grade out yung icon. No? And as you can see, we will go back under courses. Real-time naman yung monitoring ng kanilang progress. So from 0%, we actually completed 4 out of 8. So kaya 50% na yung progress natin for this particular course. No? Moving on, from the courses, let's navigate dito sa virtual classroom. Inside the virtual classroom are actually the list of virtual classes scheduled for that particular account. No? So this is another way of checking kung ano yung mga nakaschedule na virtual classes for the week. No? Kasi dito nakalagay yung date and then yung time na mga scheduled virtual classes ng student. Teacher can also send private invitation if the teacher needs to conduct one-on-one consultation or kung kailangan lang kausapin ni teacher privately yung student or yung parent. No? So dito yun sa private invites. As well as teachers can create online collaboration groups if the students needs to meet online for group discussion or group activities. On the other hand, the student have access to their reports. No? So dito nakikita ng student yung kanilang progress. No? Sa progress, basically nakalagay yung completion date. Kung may quiz, nakalagay yung score. And if enabled by the teacher, the student will be able to review immediately yung kanilang answer sheet. No? So dito indicated per question, the feedback if the student got a correct answer. And if they got an incorrect answer, kung ano yung incorrect nila nasagot at kung ano yung correct nasagot for that particular question. Okay? We normally train the teachers that the answer sheet should be enabled once all the students are already done taking the test. On the other hand, students can also communicate to their teachers. So dito po, pwedeng mag-message ang student sa teacher, vice versa. Pwede rin mag-message ang teacher sa student. No? So ang communication dito is teacher to student, student to teacher, wala pong student to student. Furthermore, we also have a calendar for the students to be able to check the activities scheduled for the week or for the day so that they can easily find out kung merong bagong activities and kung merong closing or ending activities. And finally, under help, we have help for FAQs and video tutorials. Very useful po for orientation of the students. No? Kasi this is actually the process on how to use the LMS from the dashboard until the calendar. No? So, kompleto naman po tayo ng video tutorials para ma-orient yung students in the process of using the LMS. So that's basically the process on how to use the Gas Cloud LMS on the student's point of view or the student's user interface.